It feels like my girlfriend never wants to kiss anymore. It all began in a way that felt almost scripted by destiny. My girlfriend and I, both 18, found each other at a time when life was bursting with possibilities, yet also clouded by the uncertainties of youth. What started as an ordinary friendship grew into a bond so profound, so consuming, that it felt as if the universe itself had conspired to bring us together. She wasn't just my partner, she was my best friend, my confidant, my everything. Our relationship quickly became the sun around which my entire world revolved. For over 2 years, we built a sanctuary together, a space where we could be our truest selves without fear or judgment. We didn't just love each other, we adored each other. From the very beginning, physical affection became our love language. We were those people who couldn't keep our hands off each other, not in a brash or performative way, but in a manner that felt deeply natural, like breathing. Whether it was a stolen kiss in a crowded room or hours spent simply tangled up in each other's arms, physical touch was as essential to our relationship as the words we spoke. It felt eternal, as though nothing could ever chip away at the magnetic pole between us. Yet, as the months turned into years, the comforting rhythm of our affection began to shift. Slowly, almost imperceptibly, the kisses grew shorter. The hugs lost some of their intensity. The playful, spontaneous touches that used to pepper our days together became sporadic. At first, I brushed it off, convincing myself it was just a temporary lull, a phase that every couple goes through. But as the days turned into weeks and then a month or more, I couldn't shake the creeping anxiety that something had changed. This year, I moved to college. It was a milestone I'd been excited for, but one I approached with trepidation because it meant being apart from her during the week. The distance was supposed to be manageable. After all, I came home nearly every weekend. Despite our physical separation, we texted constantly. Our messages were full of warmth and longing. She would write about how much she missed me, how she couldn't wait to feel my touch again. Her words painted vivid pictures of reunion scenes of kisses, embraces, and nights spent holding each other close. They were the kind of messages that kept me going, that filled the spaces between us with hope and anticipation. But reality didn't quite match the fantasies we painted in our texts. Each week, as Friday approached, I'd count down the hours until I could see her again. The mere thought of her would make my heart race, and by the time I arrived home, my longing for her touch would be overwhelming. Every weekend, she looked even more beautiful than I remembered, her presence an intoxicating mix of familiarity and newness. And yet, something felt off. The excitement she expressed in her texts, the desire and yearning that seemed so vivid through the screen, seemed to wane when we were actually together. It wasn't that she didn't love me. I could feel her love in countless ways. But the physical connection we once shared so effortlessly felt muted, almost restrained. At first, I tried to ignore the growing chasm between expectation and reality, but the disparity gnawed at me. It wasn't just disappointment, it was confusion, worry, and the sinking feeling that something precious was slipping away. I told myself over and over that it was all in my head. Maybe she was just tired. Maybe I was overthinking it. But no matter how many times I tried to rationalize it, the ache of longing, the longing not just for her touch, but for the unspoken connection we used to share, remained. As the weeks passed, I found myself questioning what had changed. Was it me? Was it her? Or was it simply the inevitable ebb and flow of love in the face of life's demands? Her words still reassured me. Every week, she would tell me how much she missed me, how she couldn't wait to kiss me again. But when the moment came, when I finally leaned in to close the distance between us, the spark that had once ignited so effortlessly felt harder to reignite. And as much as I tried to focus on the positives, the love that still radiated between us in countless other ways, the absence of that physical closeness was beginning to leave a void that I didn't know how to fill. The question loomed larger with each passing day. Was this a sign of something deeper? Or was it just another challenge we needed to navigate together? The week would stretch on like an endless highway, each day a marker bringing me closer to her. I clung to our texts, replaying her words in my mind like a comforting melody. "I miss you so much," she would say, or, "I can't wait to hold you." Those messages lit a fire of anticipation inside me, building up a reservoir of longing that seemed almost impossible to contain. By Friday, I would be buzzing with excitement, imagining the moment I'd finally see her, feel her arms wrap around me, and hear her voice in person. And then, the moment would come. There she'd be, as radiant as ever, standing before me like a dream made real. Her smile could light up 1,000 midnights, and each time, I marveled at how lucky I was. She had this effortless way of looking more stunning every time I saw her, as though absence only amplified her beauty. But as the joy of reuniting washed over me, there was always something faintly off, a shadow in the corner of my mind I couldn't quite chase away. I'd lean in for a kiss, my heart pounding with the anticipation of that electric connection we used to share. At first, everything seemed fine, a soft brush of her lips, the way she'd let out a tiny sigh. But then, before I could deepen the kiss, she would pull back. It wasn't abrupt or cold, but it was enough to leave me stranded in a sea of doubt. A quick peck, and then she'd turn her head or shift her focus, as if the moment had passed before it even began. The first time it happened, I dismissed it as nothing. Maybe she was tired or preoccupied. But as the weeks turned into months, the pattern became harder to ignore. I found myself replaying every interaction in my head, dissecting her every move and searching for signs of what might be wrong. Each time I felt her pull away, it was like a tiny crack forming in my confidence, and no amount of her sweet texts during the week could fully seal it. This week, during Christmas break, the distance between us felt sharper than ever. The holiday season had always been our favorite time, filled with cozy nights, festive outings, and the kind of joy that made everything feel magical. But this time, the magic felt dimmed. Every attempt to kiss her, to bridge the gap I felt growing between us, seemed to fall short. She'd smile at me, hold my hand, even laugh at my jokes, but when it came to anything beyond a fleeting kiss, she pulled away. Each time, it stung a little more. It wasn't just the rejection itself, though that hurt deeply. It was the uncertainty, the questions swirling in my mind. Did she even realize what she was doing? Was something bothering her that she wasn't telling me? Or worse, was she no longer attracted to me in the way she once was? The hardest part was the way it was changing me. I started to second-guess myself, hesitating before leaning in, bracing for the possibility that she might shrug me off. My heart ached every time I caught myself holding back, afraid of making her uncomfortable or feeling rejected again. It wasn't that I doubted her love. She was still my girlfriend, my best friend, the person who knew me better than anyone else. But the gap between the words she texted me and the actions I felt in person was growing, and I didn't know how to bridge it. What hurt the most was how much I missed her, not just her presence, but the way we used to be. I missed the way she'd wrap her arms around me like she never wanted to let go, the way her kisses felt like they were made of fire and tenderness all at once. I missed the effortless intimacy that once defined our relationship, the unspoken connection that made me feel safe, desired, and whole. Now, I found myself caught in a cycle of longing and hesitation, wanting so badly to feel that connection again but terrified of pushing her away even more. It wasn't just physical, it was about feeling close to her, about knowing that she felt the same spark I did. But lately, it felt like every attempt to close the gap only highlighted how far apart we were becoming. I've always tried to be understanding. I know she has her own rhythms, her own moods, and sometimes, she's just not in the right headspace for physical affection. That's completely fine, I get it. There are times when she's deeply engrossed in a game, or focused on cooking, or even just needs a little mental space. In those moments, I remind myself that love isn't about demanding what I want at every turn. It's about patience and respect, about giving her room to be herself. But lately, it feels like this has gone beyond occasional disinterest. Even during the quiet, relaxed moments like when we're cuddling on the couch, wrapped in a blanket, Watching one of our favorite movies, it's as if there's an invisible wall between us. I'll lean in for a kiss, hoping to feel that familiar warmth, that spark that used to light up my entire world. And yet, almost every time, she turns away just enough to let me know she's not in the mood. It's subtle, but it stings. Each shrug off feels like a little crack forming in the foundation of my confidence. It's not that I feel unloved. Her kindness, her laughter, the way she still holds my hand, all of that reassures me that she cares deeply. But the absence of her physical affection, the lack of the closeness that used to feel so natural between us, leaves an ache that's hard to ignore. I've started to adapt, though I'm not sure if that's a good thing. Instead of leaning in for a kiss like I used to, I've begun holding myself back. The fear of rejection has crept into my thoughts, making me hesitate in ways I never used to. It's a quiet kind of heartbreak, this shift from instinctive affection to cautious restraint. I still give her little kisses, small gestures of love that I hope she feels without finding them overwhelming. But each time she pulls away even gently, it chips away at something inside me. This week, though, something happened that reminded me of how much I've been missing her touch. There were moments, rare, fleeting, but so precious, when she leaned in first. Once, she wrapped her arms around me in a hug so warm and familiar that it felt like coming home after being lost. Another time, she kissed me without hesitation, her lips lingering against mine in a way that felt like the old days. Those moments were everything. They were the kind of tender, spontaneous gestures that I'd been yearning for, the kind that used to define our relationship. And as much as they filled me with joy, they also revealed just how much I'd been craving her affection. The emotional flood was overwhelming, and before I knew it, tears were slipping down my cheeks. I wasn't even sure she noticed. I tried to hide it, not wanting to make her feel guilty or burdened by my feelings. But in those moments, it hit me with the force of a tidal wave just how much I missed her. I missed us. Not just the love, which I know is still there, but the physical connection that used to feel so easy, so abundant. Those rare instances of her initiating affection were like drops of water in a parched desert, and while they meant the world to me, they also underscored how much had changed. I didn't know what to do with these feelings, didn't know how to express them without making her feel like she was falling short in some way. All I knew was that I loved her more than anything, and I wanted to bridge the gap that seemed to be growing between us. But how could I bring it up without making her feel pressured? How could I explain the ache of missing her touch without making her think I doubted her love? I was walking a tightrope, balancing my own needs with my fear of burdening her. And as much as I tried to hold on to the joy of those rare, warm moments, I couldn't help but wonder, was there a way to find our way back to what we used to be? Opening up about these feelings has been on my mind for what feels like forever. I've tried countless times to find the right words, rehearsing conversations in my head late at night when sleep wouldn't come. But every time I imagine bringing it up, fear stops me in my tracks. What if I say the wrong thing? What if I make her feel guilty or pressured, and that guilt makes her force affection she doesn't truly want to give? That's the last thing I'd ever want. I love her too much to let her feel obligated to meet some unspoken standard. She's perfect to me exactly as she is, and the last thing I want is for her to feel like she's not enough. Still, the ache is there, gnawing at me in quiet moments. I keep thinking back to the beginning of our relationship, how natural and effortless our connection felt. Back then, every touch, every kiss, every lingering glance was so full of passion and excitement. It was like we were magnets, always drawn to each other, unable to resist closing the distance between us. I can't help but wonder, has something changed? Does the distance during the week dull her feelings when we're together in person? Or is it just the normal ebb and flow of relationships, the kind of shift that happens as the intensity of new love settles into something more stable? I've been telling myself that it's probably just in my head. After all, she still loves me. I can feel it in the way she talks to me, the way she laughs at my jokes, the way she still wants to share her life with me. But even so, I can't help but miss the physical closeness that used to come so easily to us. I miss the way her kisses used to make me feel invincible, like the rest of the world could disappear and it wouldn't matter as long as I had her. Every time I think about bringing it up, I hesitate. How do you explain to the person you love that you're feeling a kind of distance, even when they're right there beside you? How do you tell them you miss their touch without making them feel like they're not doing enough? I don't want to make her feel like she's failing me, because she's not. She's still the person who makes me laugh until my stomach hurts, who knows me better than anyone else, who makes life brighter just by being in it. And yet, I can't shake the worry. What if the desire she feels for me really is weaker now than it was before? What if the spark that used to light up every moment we spent together is fading? It's not that I doubt her love, it's just that I've started to question whether her love feels different than mine. I wonder if maybe I'm holding on to something that's naturally shifting, and I don't know how to handle that. I keep thinking about what to do. Should I bring it up, gently and carefully, to see if there's something going on that she hasn't shared? Or would it be better to let it go, to trust that whatever's happening is just a phase that will pass with time? Every option feels risky, like a choice between staying silent and possibly letting the distance grow, or speaking up and potentially making her feel pressured or misunderstood. But through all of this, one thing remains clear to me: I love her. I love her more than I've ever loved anyone, and I know she loves me too. That's the foundation of everything, the thing that gives me hope even when the doubts creep in. I just wish I could find the right way to express how I'm feeling without making her feel like she's falling short. For now, I'm left with the same questions that have been circling in my mind for weeks. Do I ask her what's going on, even if I don't know how to frame it in a way that doesn't feel like criticism? Or do I keep waiting, hoping that the closeness we used to share will come back on its own? I don't have the answers yet, but I know this: I want to fight for us, for the love we've built, for the connection that still means everything to me. I just hope I can find a way to do it without losing the magic we've always shared.